All right, good morning. Welcome. Let's do a little mic check. Can everybody hear me okay? You can open up your chat room and let me know if you can hear me. All right, cool. Audio is on. Well, cool, everyone, welcome. I'm Chef Jeff from the Sweet and Savory Classroom, and I'm excited to have you on today for our virtual crepe class. And it's a great class, if I may say so. And so I'm excited. We're a small class today, so here in a minute, let's just do it right now. I'm gonna promote all of you we use the webinar platform, so I'm gonna promote all of you to a panelist, and you are welcome to turn on your video and turn on your audio. And if you can't, I can help you with that. Just let me know in the chat room. All right, and everyone should be moving their way over. Cool. All right, so if you want to, you should be able to turn on your video and just say hi if you want to. You don't have to, but again, there's only 4 of you and 1 of me today, so we're a small class, and you'll be able to share your video throughout. Hello, Erica. How are you? You know what? I've thought about you recently. I haven't seen you in a long time. In the classroom.
I see you.
Yeah. So come see us. We were migrating old information off our old website to the new website, and I saw your name came up, and when things were cycling through, and I was like, hey, I haven't seen her in a while. So cool. Now I got you on a Friday morning of all things. So fantastic. Okay, well, cool. Good to see you. And you can it doesn't look like anyone else is coming on unless you're having trouble. Again, if you're having trouble, let me know in the chat room, and I can get you squared away there. But all right, well, you can turn your video off, and I'll get started. It's good to see your face. Okay, awesome. Well, today at any time, you are welcome to let me know if you'd like to show anything off. So, there's Rosa. We got a Rosa coming up, and let's see what I say. Anyways, back to it as people come up. So let's do a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll get started. So the first thing about housekeeping today is how to communicate with me while we're doing class. And so because of the way we use Zoom, it might be a little different if you've done a lot of Zoom meetings. Those are different than how a webinar works. And so with the webinar, I promoted all of you to what it's called panelists. So then I can help you turn on and off your video if you like, and so then we can do that anytime, so we can see your food or help you with problems you might be having, etc. So that means the only way to communicate with me, or there's 2 ways to communicate with me. The first is the chat room. So in the chat room, which is yours, is probably like over here. So in the chat room, you can click on the little 2 button in the bottom, and you can hit to all panelists and attendees. There's a little drop down, hit that, and that will allow you to chat with everybody, including me. And so if you need to ask me something, the only way to really type anything in for me today is the chat room, and I will answer your questions if you've got them in the chat room. And then from there, if you want to, you can just turn your audio on and ask me a question. That works really well in a small class. You can literally just unmute yourself and be like, hey, Chef, that again, and ask me questions. I don't mind that at all. It's great. And you can also be like, hey, can I turn my video on? And I'll be like, and show you this. I'll be like, yeah, great. So turn your audio, you'll be able to turn things on, and we can see what's going on. So that's pretty much it on communicating with me today. I'm here to help and guide you through class today, and I'm excited to do that. So now, after that, let's get into the regular housekeeping portion of our day. So the first thing is you need one of these. All right, you need either one of these would be my bucket. So I've got a bucket of sanitizing solution and a towel in it, so I can use it to clean up. At home, you might just use a bowl of hot soapy water, put like a towel or a tea towel, washcloth, something in there, so that you can pull it out and use it to clean up and keep things going today. So there's that one. Then, if you want to know the order in which we're going through things today, probably can't see that. Well, because it's backwards. Is it backwards? There, you should be able to read that one. So in that handwriting on top, we're going to cook the chicken first, and then we're going to make the, I have my video spotlighted, so you didn't see my, let me do this. There. Now, let me start that again, because you couldn't see this. This is my red sanitation bucket with a towel in it. And that's what you want to do, is do a bowl of hot soapy water with a towel in it. Now you can see it. Now, if you look up at the top screen there, there is our order of operations today. We're going to cook the chicken first, right? And then we're going to make the chicken and bacon filling. Then we're going to make our crepe batter and go down the line. So I'll walk you through that part as we go through today. Also, with your housekeeping, if you like that spin move, it's going to make everyone dizzy. All right, also is I have some things ready for dessert. I've got my Nutella here, peanut butter ready to go. I've got a mixer to whip some cream. Here is all the ingredients for the crepe batter. So if you haven't done this before, you might want to scramble around right now and kind of get some things organized so that you're ready to go. Because here's all my ingredients measured out for crepes, kind of ready to go. Here's all my ingredients measured out for the chicken and bacon filling, ready to go. And then the first thing we're actually going to cook some chicken, so I'm going to grab that. And I like to keep some plates handy. So, all right. So we have that part. And then, yeah, that's about it. I've got my pots and pans. Yeah, I've got my crepe pan back there. And pretty much most everything I need, I may have forgotten a few things, but most everything I need is within close proximity to my station today. Oh, this thing too. So this, is my phone gonna flip around for me? Come on. Flip around. What? As soon as I turn it over, it's gonna flip again. I want you to do it the right way. Huh. Let's give it a second here. There we go. Okay, it was just stuck, everybody. So here is my cooking tray. So I've got my salt and pepper. I've got spoons and things, tongs and spoons and just spatulas. I've got oil squeeze bottles and just some extra stuff. I have this set up. This is set up all the time. And so even at home, I have one of these, pretty much like a corner of my kitchen. I have something like this so that all of my stuff is ready to go all the time. All right, so now we are ready to go. If anyone has any questions before we get started in the chat room, please hit me up. Let me know. Love to answer your questions. But for now, let's get cooking. You ready? I think I'm ready. All right, so the first thing you want to do today is turn your oven on to, let's do 400 degrees. So turn your oven on to 400 degrees and get it preheating. So I'm turning mine on right now. All right, so my oven is on to 400 degrees, and then I'm gonna grab a pair of tongs, and I've got this chicken here. You can trim it if you want to. I'll end up trimming some of the fat after it's cooked, and that'll work just fine. It'll peel right off. So I'm gonna put a little salt on my chicken, a little pepper. I'm just gonna do some kind of more of a plain seasoned salt and pepper chicken. I'm gonna do a little oil. You need a little oil, you need a little fat on your chicken so that it can, so we can transfer the heat. You need some fat on there to help your chicken cook in the oven. Now, some of you may have already cooked your chicken because it kind of says cooked and pulled chicken on the recipe, but I like to show you everything if I can, and so that you don't have to do anything ahead of time for our classes. But the salt and pepper on the chicken is here, and then I'm going to go ahead and put this into the oven, and I'm going to cook it until it's done. And when it's done, and I'm able to, we're going to shred it apart anyways, and so it'll probably take, since my oven isn't preheated, it'll probably take about 12 to 15 minutes or so. So I'm going to set a 10-minute timer just to check it. I always say timers are your best friend, and when you're cooking, so make sure and set your timers so that you don't forget about things. All right.
Chef, I have a question.
Yeah.
It's Eric. I don't have any chicken, but I have some prosciutto. I think I'm just going to use that.
Yeah, you can skip that part. Not a
Okay.
problem. Yeah, it's it's your recipe, so you can do whatever you want to. You're at your house. Um, what? I'm gonna force you. Go to the store, get some chicken. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right.
I
And
think.
yeah, so my chicken's in the oven, and that's gonna get cooking. So the next thing we're gonna do is start getting our ingredients ready for the chicken and bacon crepe filling. So again, you'll need your recipe for that one, and you can use whatever ingredients you do have. A lot of times people don't have cooking sherry, but that's okay. You can skip that part. So here are my ingredients. And you can see them right here. So I've got an outlier. So here are the ingredients for the chicken and bacon. So I've got red onion, a little heavy cream, flour, butter, chicken stock, the sherry, and then we have bacon. Now this heavy cream here is for a part a little bit later. And I think, did I forget to get an egg? Yeah, I forgot my egg, but I'll get that when the time is right. So you should have an egg, or if you separated it already into an egg, that's fine too.
I have a question.
Yes, ask away.
Is whipping cream whipping cream okay? Is whipping cream okay?
Yes. There. When you shop for heavy cream at the store, it's either heavy cream, or they call it whipping cream, or heavy whipping cream. All those names mean the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So let's go to town. The first thing I'm going to cut is my onion. So I just have a piece of an onion, because we're making I'm making the recipe that says serves 2. I'm not sure how many you're cooking for. You'd be cooking for 2 people. You're cooking for 200. Hopefully you got help if it's 200. But for me, I am cooking for the serves 2 recipe. So I just needed like an 1/8 of an onion. But the onion, we want to cut it really small. Really small. So if you're cutting with a big knife or a small knife, I always like to say you pinch on the knife. Get right underneath that camera there. Move over just a bit. You pinch on that blade, and then these 3 fingers grab the handle. That's a proper way to hold the knife, so it's nice and sturdy in your hand. But for us, I'm gonna cut straight down on this onion. I'm gonna cut straight down, and see, I'm cutting all the way through, but I'm leaving just this last little bit connected right here at the edge, so it holds it together. But I want to cut it super thin. All right, I want to cut really into thin pieces, because my goal when cutting and chopping something is that I don't want to have to go back and do this thing. Like, this is like the choppy. We call it the choppy. We try to avoid the choppy. If you're intentional about how you're cutting each time, then you'll get a lot faster and more efficient. So I'm being really intentional that I'm going to cut super thin this time. I'm going to turn my onion 90 degrees. And this time I'm going to cut all the way through. But again, I want to cut it super small. I'm going to cut really thin. Right? And then it will be done. So look how small those pieces are. And then you don't have to go back and do any other cutting to it. Now, if you're interested in getting really good with the big knife, this is a 12-inch chef's knife, and I'll tell you what, it is. If you get good with this is the only knife you need. You can do just about anything you want to in a kitchen with the big knife. And a lot of times that people are scared of the big knife, but you actually become more efficient, faster, and safer with a bigger knife than you would any other one. You just gotta learn how to use it. And it just so happens that I've got a knife skills class coming up next week, I believe, on a Wednesday night, and it's gonna be in person and virtual at the same time. So we'd love to have you sign up for something like that with us. So I'm gonna take all my onions. Look, I mean, just how pretty those are, nice and small. Get those off my cutting board onto my tray. Now, when I organize ingredients here, we have a bunch of these plastic trays, right? We've got like 40 of these things. But at home, you can just take a plate and just like put piles of your food on a plate. I mean, that works too. So now we have our bacon. I'm gonna take the bacon, and I could just start cutting it down here. But if I cut it in half and stack it, now I just became twice as efficient without doing any more work. Now something that's fatty, I'll give you a little tip. I typically like to cut my bacon frozen if I'm gonna cut it, because when you cut it frozen, it cuts really easy, and it's just safer that way because of the fat. Now let me change there. My camera was hold on, I got one technical difficulty here. Not really technical, this is loose. There. I don't know why my camera kept moving, because that was loose. There we go. Now we should be able to, except it went rogue on me and flipped over again. What? That's actually not bad, is it? That's actually 5 days. You're looking upside down. So, there we go. And so now you're cutting in the same position I am. Look at that. Just did something new. So what I was going to say is, with something fatty, if you freeze it, it makes it cutting it easier. But also, if it's not frozen, either way, you want to make sure you slide the knife, right? Slide the knife. Because when you slide it, it helps cut through the fat a lot easier, right? So that is done. And here's where your wet towel comes in, your soapy wet towel comes in handy, because you can just pull it out real quick, wring it out, and then use it to clean off your station. So there we have it. All right, oh, gotta clean my knife off too. So now I am ready for the next part. Now I know I've been cutting a long time, so I'll give you just a second to catch up. If you're, if you're not done cutting, just say not done or something in the chat room. Just kind of let me know how you're doing, and we will I'll adjust for you, especially since we're a small class today. I don't want to rush past anything. Is almost out. All right, so the next thing then, since no one's saying that they're behind, we're gonna get started cooking this. We're gonna get started cooking this, the chicken and bacon filling. So I'm gonna turn my flame on. I'm gonna turn my pan on, and so I'm gonna let my pan start to heat up a little bit. And let's start looking at the recipe. All right, so step one. My wife is leaving me. Are you leaving me? So, Chef Heather, my wife, she's the pastry chef. She's the sweet of sweet and savory. She's running around here in the background, but I guess she's leaving. So step number one, it says to remove the meat from the cooked chicken in reserve. Well, the chicken's not done yet, and we don't need it yet either. So we're just gonna let it finish cooking. We'll get that part when it's time. The next part, it says cook the bacon until it's almost crisp, and then after that we're gonna put the butter in, and then we're gonna kind of keep moving through the recipe. All right. And so I want to get my pan hot. So if I have my flame on and then get my pan on, I'm going to let it get hot. This is how you properly saute. We always saute in 3 steps. First, heat the pan. Flame is on. Pan is on. Then you heat the fat. Right. The fat this time will actually be the bacon and the food. So heat the pan, heat the fat, heat the food. Those are our 3 steps. But the pan's heating up. The fat and the food are the same thing for this particular part. So let's get my bacon here, and when it goes in, you want to hear that nice sizzle. Can you hear the sizzle? Get my earpiece a little closer for you. You're going to have a nice sizzle going on with your bacon. So there we have it. We're going to have that, and we're just going to let it cook. And we just need to know what happens next, right? So when this is cooking about halfway, we'll add our butter, and we're gonna add the butter and the red onions, and we're gonna get them cooking down a little bit too. So here's our butter. All right, get that peeled off and ready. All right, so you can get ready for the next step. Oh. So, as I talked about how important timers are, I'm not sure what happened, but my timer wasn't on. So, I'm gonna take a look at my chicken. It's not done. So I'm okay. Now my timer is officially set. All right, does anybody have any questions? Has anybody been to an official French creperie? I have.
Yes, I have, Chef Jeff. I just got back from France in March, and I am addicted to crepes.
Oh yeah, we went to France a year ago, March, for our 10-year anniversary, and we went to a French creperie, and we had crepes, and it was one that also did the waffles. I don't know if you went to one of those, but it was fantastic. And so I love making crepes. So if you don't know, crepe, it's a French pancake. So it's the way the French make pancakes. They make them thin and pretty, as they do most everything. I mean, they're just the way they are. So, all right. I knew that one was running out. Okay, so now my bacon is about right where I want it. It's about halfway through or a little bit more. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my butter, and I'm gonna add my onions.
I have a question.
Yes, go for it.
How many tablespoons of butter is that?
3.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I think that's 3. You'll be fine, even if I'm wrong. Okay. I take all the blame if I'm wrong, but so you'll be fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'll tell you, we've done a lot of virtual classes, and sometimes when there's a lot of people on, I can't, there's just too many people to say, like, just ask me a question that way. But this is my favorite way, when you just turn on, turn on your sound and just ask a question.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite way, so thanks. Okay, so my onions are cooking, my butter is in there, my bacon is in good shape. Let's look at what we're gonna do next, because what we're gonna do next is important. So the next part, it says to add the red onions, we'll cook them, then we're gonna add the sherry, and then we're gonna add our flour. Right, so my sherry is gonna go in right now, and if you are using sherry, it could flame up on you because there's alcohol in it, but we're gonna burn all that alcohol off. So make sure and lean back, and so you don't get a steam burn in your face. When you add something liquid like that to a hot pan, you see that big billow of steam happen to me, and it'll happen to you as well. And so we just want to give that a stir, and all the alcohol will evaporate. But you're left with this really great flavor this distinct flavor that goes well with this dish. So I'm in good shape now for the next part. The next part, it says to add your flour. So we're gonna add the flour, and we're gonna make a roux in the pan. So roux, it's R-O-U-X, all right? And that's how you spell it. And a roux is a thickening agent. And we use different types of thickening agents. We use cornstarch is one of them. Arrowroot is another one. You can also thicken something just by cooking it down a little bit, meaning reduce it a little. But for us, we are going to, we added flour, and this is the base of like making a gravy. Now I did turn my flame down a little bit so I can stay in control of my pan. Once you add flour burns really easily. So you want to turn your heat down so that you can stay in control of what's going on in your pan.
I have a question.
Sure.
How much flour was that?
That was about 3 tablespoons as well. So the flour and the butter were the same, roughly.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Yeah, I know they're weighed in ounces. You might not have a scale then. And if you cook a lot, having a scale especially if you bake, having a scale is a really nice thing to have around. But I understand a lot of people don't have one. All right, my timer is going off. I'm gonna check my chicken. It's not done yet. So we'll give that a couple more minutes. Okay, so you want to be careful here that you don't leave your flour alone too long, because if you do, it'll burn. Make sure you stir all the corners. A lot of times when people are cooking, they can't see this this back part of their pan, and that's what burns. So you want to make sure you stir everything, and we're gonna get ready for the next step, which is to temper in the chicken stock. So here's my chicken stock. Tempering is a process of slowly bringing 2 things together that don't normally like to mix. So you've got this liquid here, and you've got this more of a solid in here. So flour and water, they actually don't like to mix together. It takes a little bit of effort. Right? And so the rules for me when we temper something in is to do little bits at a time until they become one. And I'll explain that here in a second. So here we're going to take the chicken broth. I'm gonna put just a little bit in because it might steam up on you again. So just step back and let that steam get out so you're not, so it's not in your face. And then once the steam is gone, I want you to stir that in. This is the part where you have to go just little bits at a time. And if you feel like it's too hot for you, you can just turn your burner off for a minute if you want to. That's fine too. So I added the liquid, and so now some of the stock you can't tell it's there. It all got mixed in. So we're gonna add a little bit more. And this is tempering again, is slowly bringing 2 things together. And so we do this for 2 main reasons. We do it for temperature, and we do it for texture. So meaning if you have 2 different temperatures, which we do, this is cold, the chicken stock is cold, and this is hot, so there's 2 different temperatures. We also have those 2 different textures. And the goal is to get these 2 things mixed together and not to have any lumps left when you're done. So that's why it's just little bits of liquid at a time, because then you can work out with the spoon, you can basically mix out all the flour lumps as you go. So now this looks nice and smooth. Add a little bit more chicken stock. I'm gonna turn my pan back on. I feel like I'm in control. Like I'm doing all right. So add a little heat back to the pan. And this is a brown gravy with bacon in it. That's basically what we were making. And if you want to know like the base sauce, if you want to get, it'd be a French classical sauce called a velouté. And there's 5, or is there? There's 6. Should know this by now. There's 6 mother sauces, right? You have bechamel, espagnole, tomato, hollandaise, velouté, and demi-glace. Right? There's 6 mother sauces, and then meaning from those sauces, everything is made. Not everything, but most sauces are made from a variation of those. And so this would be a velouté, which is basically a gravy. But now we've taken a gravy and you've added bacon and sherry to it and some other flavors, and you've changed the flavors, but the base sauce is that velouté. Now you want to turn your heat to a point where this can come to a boil, right? And so the flour and water, like I said, they don't really like to mix together. But now you've got them kind of smooth and mixed together. then what happens is we need to bond them. And so flour and water won't bond until you reach a boil. And so the flour won't reach 200. The flour won't even cook all the way until you reach 212 degrees into that boiling point. So I'm gonna bring mine to a boil. Make sure and stir as I go so you don't burn. And it won't reach its full thickening capacity. So you could put flour in something, and if you don't bring it to a boil, it won't fully thicken and show you the results of how much flour you have in there. So you need to bring it to a full boil, which mine is. It just came to it. And because it's at a full rolling boil, I can now tell how thick my sauce is. I can cook some of that raw flour taste out of it. But this is now done. With the exception of you have a little bit of cream left over. Right? I have two sets of cream. I've got a big and a small. Right? I'm gonna put the small one in here. That will make the sauce taste amazing. Okay? So that's great.
I have a question.
Sure.
How much cream was that you just put in?
That was like 2 tablespoons.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, my chicken timer went off and it's definitely done. So I'm gonna set it aside and just let it cool. Later on, we will, and you can turn your oven off for right now as well. We'll turn the oven back on a little bit later for our class. All right, so we've got this sauce. Now I want you to grab like a small bowl or a small container or something. So we need to do something right now before we forget after we get this mixed together. Well, actually, what we need to do is we need to try it. So get a spoon, give it a taste. Great, just like it is. I'm gonna add a little pepper to it, a little pinch of salt to it. We'll try it again. So we're making sweet and savory crepes today. This is the savory part. This is a filling that's going to go in a crepe. And then we're also going to make the Nutella crepe and maybe a surprise crepe for you. So once that's mixed in, and give it another taste. That is fantastic. Okay. So I want you to take a small bowl of some kind, and you're going to take the bowl, take a little bit of your sauce, just like that, couple spoonfuls, and I want you to just set it aside. Just set it aside. I'm going to try one thing too for us. I'm going to change that, and then yes, everything matches up. Y'all, I've been doing this for a while, and I just realized something cool. Okay, I realized if I have the phone here, if it flips around, usually it's flipped the other way, so we're always opposite. But now it's like, look, like my hand. It's like we're aligned with the pot, and like you're in the same. You see things in the same view that I see things.
I like the view a lot. It helps me just because of so they're very good.
Yeah. Yeah, and so every other class we've done, this has been flipped around, and it's been and it kind of shows you like you're standing in front of me. And anyways, so something just crazy happened, and my phone wouldn't flip around, and it became the best thing since we started. All right, pick your sauce, set it aside, and we're gonna move into making your crepe batter next. So here's your set aside pile, right? Your set aside pile has cream, a little bit of sauce, and then you have your pot with the rest of the sauce in it. So my set aside pile is down here.
I have a question for you.
Yes, how can I? Yeah.
Did you took out some sauce, right, and put it in a bowl, right?
Correct.
And then you put the rest of the sauce to side with the bowl, right?
Yes. So this is what I've got. So I've got the little bit of sauce in the bowl, the heavy cream on this tray, and then I've got the sauce in a pot. And you just want to set it on your counter somewhere and just leave it till later. Okay?
And how much heavy cream is there next to the sauce in the bowl?
That's probably like that's close to a half a cup. Close to so a half a cup will be plenty. If you're cooking, are you cooking the amounts that we're doing? The two, I guess you are, because you asked about the others. So yes, half a cup is all you need. All right, so now I'm gonna move my burner out of the way because I don't need it just yet, and get all of your ingredients out for your crepes. So here's my crepe ingredients. So I guess I do need a burner because we need to melt 3 tablespoons of butter. All right, so I'll give you a second to get your ingredients out. So I've got a bowl. I've got the flour, eggs, salt, sugar, milk. We need some butter to melt. A whisk is always helpful. And then we have the ladle. Now I'm actually going to grab one more thing that is not required, but if you got one, you can use it. A strainer basket. If you don't have one, don't sweat it. You don't have to have it, but if you do, we'll use it in a few minutes. Okay? I'll give you all a second to get settled in and ready. All right, so Rosa, how much did I just take out? I think you're asking about the sauce, maybe how much sauce did I take out? It was no exact amount. It's probably a half a cup max. It's not an exact science for that part. And because it'll all just kind of work out. So I just took out a couple spoonfuls, half a cup-ish, but is what I took out. Okay, so I don't need to melt the butter just yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and put my butter into the pot. So my pot is right here, out of camera. Put that in the pot and just let it sit there until we're ready for it. So let's look at our recipe. Let's see what our recipe says. Our recipe says to whisk the eggs. All right, so that's our first step. So you can crack your eggs right in here. When you do your eggs, there's always a little bit of like egg white left in the shell. So you make sure you use your finger and get that out. There we go. Hi. How's everybody doing? See my arm? That's my arm. I'm reaching underneath the camera. All right, we gotta have a little fun. We gotta have a little fun, right? So, we're gonna whisk your eggs until they break. All right, so here's what I mean by that. All right, so your eggs right now, you have these big, the whites, if you look in them and you kind of take your whisk, or you can even use a fork too. There's big pieces of egg white that is like, I hate to say it, it's like kind of like snotty. Okay, it's not really a great cooking word for cooking, but that's what I think of, right? And so a lot of times people, they just whisk your egg like this, and like they mix it, and then you think you're done. But you can see in here, right? You can see like the large pieces of egg white that haven't broken up. So what I want you to do, whether you're using a fork, a whisk, or whatever, make sure you hit the bowl. Right? Make sure the bowl is a part of what you're doing. Make sure you hit the bowl. I want you to whisk it. Keep whisking it. Right now, when I whisk, you can kind of see how the egg is being pulled around because there's still pieces connected. And so I want you to whisk it until it breaks, and when you're whisking it, it feels and looks like water in there. It's watery. So I need to put this on my table. You want to whisk it hard. I'm not trying to add a bunch of air to it. There's two different ways you can whisk. If you whisk up and out, where your whisk comes out of the bowl, that's how you bring air and incorporate air, say if you're making whipped cream. But here, I'm keeping the whisk in it because I'm not trying to make it fluffy. I'm just trying to break up all those egg white pieces. So now, your arm burning yet? Is it on fire? Mine always. It's all hot when doing something like that. So my eggs are now, they're all broken. They move around really easily. And now there's a reason why we do this. If you have the egg proteins that haven't been broken up, they really won't mix in with everything else. And so we want nice smooth eggs where all the proteins are broken up so that it mixes really well into our batter so that we have a nice, basically the properties the egg brings to the batter, or how it binds things together, how it'll give us a nice smoother crepe all the way around. Okay. So it says now we're on step number 2. So we said add the eggs and a small amount of the milk. So I'm gonna take just a little bit of my milk, put that here, and you go ahead and add the salt, and you add your sugar. I'm gonna give myself a little room now. And the next part, it says you're gonna add a little bit. You're gonna add your flour to this. So anytime I'm making a batter, I use a batter, whether it's a brownie batter, cookie, not necessarily cookie dough, but like a brownie batter or a pancake batter, a waffle batter, making a lot of pizza doughs and different things. I'll start this way, where I have my wet ingredients, and I'll take the dry ingredients and put them on the other side. So here's what it'll look like. So I have wet on one side, dry on the other side. And then what we do is right here with the wet, the dry, and the bowl, right where they meet, right there, is where we're gonna start mixing. Because earlier we tempered, right? We brought two things together that don't normally mix. Well, we're tempering again, okay? So we wanna try to get these two things to mix together nice and smooth without getting a ton of lumps in it. I'm just kind of working my way through just little bits at a time. Use the bowl. The bowl, again, it's a tool. Hit it, use it. It's gonna start to get thick. And thick is good right now, right? Thick is good because thick will help you work out any lumps. So here's the thing about the lumps. If you've got flour and you've got two lumps, if they're really close together, because there's no more room in the bowl for them, if they're really close together, then when you whisk, your whisk can press them together, right, until they kind of flatten out and smooth out. But if you've got two lumps and you have a lot of liquid in there, so the lumps are they're far apart, you can't get them close enough to smash together and smooth out. So that's why you start with just little bits of liquid. So that you can keep all the lumps close together, close enough that you can work the lumps out. this is where it gets a little hard. Right? It becomes pasty. And I don't know if you can see in here, but I do have a couple little lumps. That's okay. This is so thick that if I whisk it hard, I'll be able to get those lumps out. So that's what you want to do. I want you to do too, is whisk all the way around your bowl. Get all the dry flour from the outside edges. And whisk it. You didn't get your CrossFit workout this morning. Getting it now. Okay. Although I don't CrossFit, but I got my workout this morning. My garage gym, 5:30 a.m. That's how it works in my life. And so now we have your thick paste. Now you're gonna temper again. Add a little bit of your milk. Now here's the one where you can really see, mix them until they become one. So you've got milk and you've got the batter. They look different. So mix them. That's not mixed. You can still see the difference a little bit. So keep mixing until they're totally smooth, completely mixed in. Then add some more. A little bit more. Gets easier. It's easier as you go now. And our last one. Now, I like a tall container. I'm going to use this container again. You might want something tall enough that when you put your ladle in it, it doesn't tip over. I'll show you. So I've got a nice, smooth crepe batter. And we're about to strain it. So I'm gonna get the strainer. And here's why we strain, a couple of different reasons. One is to get any eggshells. So if you had any eggshells that had cracked in there, you don't have to worry about them. Like, you can make a bunch of this batter and not even worry about eggshells at all, because you'll strain them out. You'll also strain out any lumps. And there's a little, when you crack an egg open, there's a little, it's called the chalaza. It's a little white piece that kind of like, call it like the umbilical cord. It kind of holds the yolk in place inside the egg, and you can get that out too if you really want like perfectly smooth crepe without any lumps or anything in it from anything else. So here I've got my strainer. Now for me, my strainer, if I don't know what container you're putting yours into. Again, I like something a little bit taller and thinner. And so if you put your strainer right on the cup, most likely it'll pour out all over the side of the table. So lift your strainer up just a little bit and pour slow so it all goes in. Not too bad. See, I had a few lumps, and right there is a chalaza. It'd be hard to see because I can grab it. So that was a little piece of the egg right there. So there's a little more batter left. There. There's my batter. If you're going to save your batter for another day, you'd leave it just like this. Don't put your butter into it. Because we're about to melt some butter and make your crepes. So you can go ahead and melt your butter. Turn your pan on to maybe a low heat. And actually, what am I doing? I should just do it in this pan. Save a dish. There. And I'm gonna get set up and I'll show you. So here's my pan with my butter melting in it. And then I've got my crepe batter. There we go. Sorry, I got really bright there for a second. So here's my crepe batter, and I'm gonna put my ladle in there. There. And what I was saying is, the crepe batter, if you want to save it, say you're only gonna make a couple crepes today. Well, then put most of it in the fridge right now, and only use what you're gonna use today. And you can put some butter in that one, because butter, when it's cold, right, it's solid, and when you heat it, it's liquid. But so if you take melted butter and you put it into your crepe batter, and then you put it in the fridge till tomorrow, it'll make your crepe batter seize up. It'll be really hard, and you'll have to actually like let it warm up, or because if you try to heat it up, you'll curdle the eggs in there. You don't want to do that. So you have to be really gentle in heating it up. But you can just avoid it by not putting your butter in. Now, if you make a bunch of crepes and you have leftover batter that has butter in it, again, you can the easiest way is probably just to just pull it out of the fridge, 20 or 30 minutes before you need it, and just let it warm up to room temperature on its own, and then just give it a stir. And you might still get a few lumps, a few butter lumps in there along the way, but that's probably the easiest way to do that. So I'm melting my butter, and we're gonna get ready for crepes. So with that, here's a couple things you might want. You might want a knife. I've got what's called an offset spatula. So I've got an offset spatula, but if you don't have one of these, a knife works, like a butter knife works just fine. I wouldn't use a sharp knife, use it like a butter knife. So some sort of spatula or a knife, and I'll show you what that's for here in a few minutes. And then you'll want a plate, something to put your crepes on. So I've got my plate here. I'm gonna set it next to me. I'm right-handed, so I'm gonna get set up in a way that will function well for a right-handed person. You can barely see my crepe batter over here, but I got my crepe batter. I get a little bit more in the camera. So I don't want to get my butter super hot. I just want to melt it. I'm gonna melt it and just let it get a little bit hotter, but not super hot, because I don't want to curdle my eggs in here. So when I put this butter in, I'm gonna pour it in and stir at the same time. I know you can't see that, but I'll show you here in just a second. So my butter's in, and I'm just stirring it to get it all mixed together. Nice and smooth. Beautiful. All right, y'all ready? Do we need a prayer first? I don't know where you stand in your in your faith or not faith, anything like that, but we love Jesus around here, so please, I'm not disrespecting you, but sometimes it's like Father, I said we can pray about anything, so I pray for beautiful crepes right now as we're making these, because sometimes you need a little help along the way, okay? So you're ready to make some crepes? I'm ready to make some crepes. All right, so you're gonna turn your pan on. Now I'm using a carbon steel pan. So this is made by Lodge Manufacturing. It's a great company. So you could use cast iron, you can use carbon steel, you can use a non-stick pan. Those are probably your best options. If you have a crepe pan, that's fantastic as well. You could use that. And so I'm gonna let my pan get hot. So here, the flame is on. My pan is on. Now the first one, I'm gonna get a little bit of beurre noisette in here. Beurre noisette, which means brown butter, because butter doesn't like a high temperature. And so after the first crepe, I'm gonna oil it with something that cooks at a little bit higher temperature. So I've got just some canola oil here. You can use grapeseed oil, you can use a lot of different things. But I'm gonna get my pan really good and hot. So when you put your crepe in, you hear a sizzle along the way. So I'll just give it a second to get hot. But I see a little smoke from my pan. My pan is definitely hot. But here's how we do the crepes. Let me get this in here close so you can see. All right, so I'm gonna take a ladle of my crepe batter. I know that about a ladle is what I need. Actually, a little less than that. I'm gonna pour it in all at one time. and then do a slow swirl. Okay. Slow swirl. If you go fast, you'll get a bunch of holes. You want to do a slow swirl. And then when you look at your crepe, it'll be wet, and then you like look away for a second, and you look back, and all of a sudden it's dry. Like there's no wetness left. When that happens, I'm gonna take my spatula, push it down, just kind of scrape in the bottom of the pan. But if it's a nonstick pan, you might want to use a rubber spatula for this job, so you don't scrape the pan. All right. I'm gonna come up underneath my crepe, pick it up, turn it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Done. So I just pick a little bit of my crepe up right here, and it'll slide right out of my pan. So before we do the next one, let's talk about a little bit of hand position. All right. So the next one. So I want you to put your hand out just like this. All right. So when you're trying to flip the crepe, sometimes what people do is they start with their hand like this, and then they try to flip it, and their whole shoulder goes with them. It's kind of hard that way. You're flipping away from you. It's kind of hard that way. So I want your hand to be up, your palm to be up. Put your spatula in there, right? And that's how you come underneath. All right, you come under with an underhand, and you just pick it up and turn your hand over. That's an easy flip. Pick it up, turn your hand over. Same thing with getting this out of the pan. Your hand, I always start underhand. So when I grab this pan, I'm just gonna turn my hand, right? Turn my pan to get the crepe to come out of the pan. So I'm gonna do another one. I'm gonna put just a little bit of oil in the pan, and then make sure I got the pan's still nice and hot. And you can practice your slow swirl with when you put oil in the pan. Just do tilt, swirl. All right. Swirl the pan. Now I'm gonna get my ladle of crepe batter, and I'm gonna show you this time. What if you put way too much in there? You don't want your crepe thick. Crepe should be nice and thin pancake. So I'm gonna put too much in here this time to show you what happens. So I'm gonna put this, add a little bit more. If I have too much crepe batter, I'm gonna do my slow swirl. If you have too much batter, you can just take it and pour it back into your container. And then what I usually do, I'll show you with a butter knife this time, is I'll just come and I'll trim it. I'll just cut right there and get rid of that little piece. Okay? Now I'll show you how to use this. I'll show you how to use a butter knife for this one now. So now it's all dry on top. Again, I'll take the butter knife, slide it underneath. Sometimes you have to help it just a little bit. And I'll pick it up, turn it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My crepe is done. Look how pretty that is and lacy that is. Oh, that's great. Slide it out. I'll show you with a rubber spatula, just in case that's what you're using. Okay. So now, I'm not going to oil the pan this time. I oiled it once, and I'm going to show you what happens, how to make things look differently, right? So I'm going to get the right amount of batter. Swirl. I might have that's still probably a little too much. Ooh, there you go, I had a hole. Pour off the extra. Trim it if I need to. So I'm gonna wait till it's dry. I still see a little bit of wet right there. Okay, the rest of it's dry. You can also see browning around the edge. I don't know how well that picks up in the camera, but you see some browning around the edge. So get my rubber spatula in here. Needs a little help to get to the middle. That's the thing, you really have to kind of get to the middle. You can pick it up and flip it over. All right, while you're counting to 7, you can look at the difference a little bit. Do they look a little different? It's because the oil, when there's more oil, it makes the it fry a little bit more, and you get like this prettier lace going on. Whereas when you use less oil, you start to get these kind of spots here where there's almost no laciness at all. All right, so I probably overcooked that one just a little bit. So the amount of fat you use, the amount of cooking fat that you use here, it does determine how it looks. And if you're using a nonstick pan, because a nonstick pan, because the oil won't kind of coat the pan, it just kind of goes and like runs around, you might get these spots like this one. You might get spots like this where there's no laciness at all, or it's like just all brown. And that's because of a nonstick pan. Now my pan is smoking, it's a little too hot this time. Turn down. As you're doing it, you have to adjust your heat up and down depending on how quickly you're putting crepes in. If you're doing them really fast, you might need to turn the heat up. If you're talking like me in between, then my pan just keeps getting too hot. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of fat. Swirl. And then I'm gonna get my crepe batter. Put it in all at once. Slow swirl. Now, this one didn't have it. I was trying to get one to get a hole in it. But if you say you have a big patch that you're missing, you can always just take a little batter and patch it. I'll try to get a hole in the next one to show you. Oh, so that one, I just ripped it. So it's almost dry. I'm going back to the offset spatula. Underhand, pick it up, turn it over. Ah, she looks so pretty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's done. Super easy. All right, going for a hole this time, and I'll patch it. All right, going for a hole. There. So I got a nice big hole there. Of course, you can take extra batter that you have running around to try to fill it. But when that doesn't work, you can just patch your hole with some extra batter. Is a hole going to ruin your life? No, not at all. Little holes are okay. But a lot of times it depends on what you're putting into it. Because if you're putting in some sort of filling, you don't want to squeeze out through the holes, right? That wouldn't be good. So now my pan, it got a little too cold. So here, I've done quite a few crepes. We're gonna make all these crepes. I'm gonna make this whole batter right now. And for you, you don't have to make the whole thing right now. You can make as many until I'm done, right? And then you only need really like three or four crepes for today. For us to get through, to kind of get through class. But this won't take me very long. And so you're welcome to ask questions, to turn your video on if you want me to see anything or see how you're doing. If you're struggling with flipping or anything, I'm here for you. I want to answer your questions and help you out. So I might even be able to recreate something to kind of show you how to master a crepe. All right. So there we go.
Question, Chef. What heat do you have the burner to?
So that's one of those things it's hard to completely answer. Like I was more of like a medium high heat when I'm going back to back. I was probably more medium high-ish, right? And I say ish because your burner might be hotter than mine, depending on what pan you're using, etc. There's a lot of different factors in that. But then as I was talking, my pan was getting too hot, so I turned it down to almost low to let it cool down. So what you're looking for is just that sound of the sizzle, right? And if you feel like so if your oil is smoking just a little bit, that's okay, right? But if your pan is billowing smoke, then it's too hot. Like mine is getting close to billowing smoke, so I'm going to turn it down. I know you probably can't see the smoke through the camera, but just a little bit says, hey, I'm hot. But a lot of smoke says, hey, I'm burning. And then if you put your stuff in and you don't hear any sizzle, like here, you should hear that sizzle. And if you don't hear the sizzle, that means your pan was too cold. And because the sizzle is what gives you the kind of like the browning on your crepes. So here, that's where I just Yeah, I get that question a lot in classes, so I'm giving you the long answer now. Now I'm going into the long answer. I like to teach you to cook with your sight, smell, taste, sound, and touch, because there's so many factors that you can't really, that's where telling you high, medium, or low it would not give you a great answer, because there's so many factors that we can't control, or that we don't know when as far as like how big is your pan, how big is your ladle, how cold is your batter, and how many BTUs does your burner put out. There's just so many things. I'd rather teach you how to cook, right? Teach you what to look for. Like, so in this one, again, I'll just repeat, like if oil is smoking, it's burning, so it's too hot. If there's no sizzle, it means it's too cold. So you're gonna have just like a touch of smoke saying, oh, my oil's hot. When you put your stuff in, you should hear the sizzle. And that's telling you, like, using your sight by smoke and smell by smoke, using sound, right? You're using some of those, all of your senses to tell if you're in the right spot. And once you start to understand that part, then cooking anything at home starts to become, you start to be able to just know, right? Just know right off the top what you're going for.
Hey, Chef Jeff, I have a question.
Sure.
So my crepes are too thick because when I put in too little batter, it doesn't cover the pan all the way, but I have to put enough batter in it to roll it around the pan. So I'm like struggling as to like why my crepes are too like I feel like I'm having to make them too thick because the yeah.
So try turning your heat up a little bit. So here's the thing about if your pan is too cold, it just kind of sits there, and so you need your pan to be probably a little bit hotter. And then when you put your fat in, so if your fat is hotter, it moves and helps everything glide around quicker. And so are you using a crepe pan or like a cast iron? Or are you using a nonstick pan?
I'm using a nonstick pan.
Okay, and so that's also that is partly your equipment. So a nonstick pan will typically produce a thicker crepe, just because the coating of a nonstick pan, it won't allow. Let me turn this off for a second. The coating of a nonstick pan won't allow the oil to coat the whole pan. You know this, right? You put a little oil in and it kind of like pools up and beads up. It doesn't really like completely coat the pan. And so then your crepe batter, once you put it in, it starts adhering to the nonstick surface and it doesn't allow the oil to help it spread. Because oil, if you'll notice, oil in a squeeze bottle, or if you poured oil on a plate, it moves at, let's say, like I have a scale of 1 to 10. It's going to move at speed like 5 going across the plate. But if you put it in a hot pan, or let me back up. I'll use this analogy. If you put oil in a cold pan and you pour it here and you like tilt your pan and want it to run down, it's going to go at like speed 5 to get to the other side. But if you put oil in a hot pan and you tilt it, it'll go like speed 9. It'll get there so much faster. So that's oil's job, is to help move food around to transfer heat. And so you're a little bit at the behest of the pan that you're using. But I would try a little bit hotter and maybe just a touch more fat, and try to swirl the fat around right before you put your stuff in there, so that you get a maximum kind of like oil coverage, and then it should help a little bit.
Is there a better pan to use? What kind of pan should I buy?
So these Lodge carbon steel pans, these are fantastic for crepes and for everyday cooking. These are my favorite pans on the planet. I use them in almost all my classes. And so they are, this is a 10-inch one, which is great for crepes. I have a 12-inch one that I use for a lot of cooking. So I've become a big cast iron fan over the past couple of years, but this is a carbon steel, it's a lot thinner and lighter. I don't know if you can see the edge of the pan. So I actually have crepe pans. A crepe pan is a carbon steel pan. It just has a shorter lip here on the side, and so I have a bunch of them. Are you? If you live local, I've got some, and you can purchase stuff here. We've got these pans, and I have crepe pans here.
Yes, I live right down the street.
Oh, okay, well then you can come shopping here whenever you'd like. Okay, and because the carbon steel pans, I mean, really, Yeah, I'll put it this way. Like when my first professional job was at the Biltmore Estate, and when I worked at Saute Station, I was an intern and worked my way up to a chef there. When I was an intern, I worked at one restaurant on the line, sauteing all the time, and they had a couple of these. But they were bigger, and we used them just for specific things. I remember loving that pan. But then as I moved on in life, I go into kitchens and I always buy like these cheap aluminum things, and they're just terrible. But that's just what you use because you don't own it. So as soon as I get to a place where I own it, which the classroom here, I ended up with getting a bunch of these carbon steel pans. Actually, Lodge gave me all of these pans, but they're great for everyday cooking. They give you all the benefits of cast iron as far as the seasoning, the heat transfer, but they're just not as thick. So yeah, so I would highly recommend these Lodge carbon steel pans for crepes and for everyday cooking. My spiel. I probably have 7 seconds there. I wasn't paying attention. Go ahead.
Do you ship?
Do I
ship it?
Do I ship it? I don't ship, but if you want, Lodge, the company will ship. So if you want to purchase anything from their store, they have you can purchase stuff from them online.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but hopefully soon we'll be able to say that you could go to our website and purchase them, and they'll ship them. But we're not quite there. Actually, we're ready, but they're not quite there yet with their technology to allow those orders to come in from other websites.
Okay.
So soon. But you're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions, anybody? All right. Crepes, they go super fast. So now you asked about heat earlier. When I'm doing back to back, I mean, I just keep turning my heat up because I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to go. And they can just go, and I don't have to oil my pan every time. I've been getting a little heavy-handed on my crepe batter. To tone that down a little bit. I shouldn't be trimming every single one of them off. You should dial it in as far as how much batter you put in, so you have just enough. Oh, I love crepes. My kids are gonna be so happy because it's just me here. So I'm gonna make this stuff, and then I'm gonna have all these crepes to take home. So let's talk about that. Actually, if you have extra crepes, so crepes freeze very, very well. So if you want to make a bunch of crepes one day and just put them in the freezer, that's great. I would say separate them, like make stacks. About how many crepes do you want to use? Say you make 20 crepes, but you're only going to use 3 at a time. Well, then I would do like 3 crepes, and then maybe put some parchment paper in between or some wax paper in between, and do like stacks of them. So then you'll be able to just pull off the ones you need, set them on the counter, and within minutes, they'll be thawed and ready to use for something. So that's a nice thing about crepes, is they freeze tremendously well.
I suppose we'll all find this out soon enough, but do you know like how many crepes in a 10-inch pan, how many crepes this batter makes?
It should make at least 12. We're gonna count them here in a minute. It depends on how thick you go. And I've done up to like 16 or 17 if it's just me here without kind of when I get in the groove. And so that one's about to come off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I count it right, that's 9. This is 10. So I would say safely 10 to 12 crepes. Because that was 10. Let's get 11 right here. And if I hadn't had so much overage with my pile there, I would probably definitely have gotten 12. But what tends to happen is like if I'm talking and things, I turn my pan up and down and I'll get less crepes. But if it's just me, I'm just in here like cooking crepes for something, my pan will stay hot and I'll just be whizzing through them. And again, when the pan's hotter, the fat is hotter, they spread quicker and thinner, and then I'll end up getting a higher yield.
Jeff, how do you know when you've cooked a crepe too long? What is it? I mean, other than being burnt, what if you just cook it on a low temp too long?
It'll just be dry. So it first starts with, when you overcook anything, when you cook something perfectly, all the moisture is just right. And that's basically what cooking is. That you're trying to control moisture. Sometimes you're trying to add it. Sometimes you're trying to take it away for different purposes. And so if you overcook your crepe, it's just going to be a little drier. And then you get to the point where then you do burn it. Oh, I'm gonna have to, that's all my batter. I'm empty. So I'm gonna have a few holes in that one. Y'all, great questions today. I love it. That might need a couple things. Oh, all the way to the end, they're all pretty. Most people don't, some of us at our age, we know what a lace doily is. That's why I always think of these like a doily. But I know some of the younger generations have probably never seen one of those. Kind of a, maybe at your grandma's house. My grandma, she had a few of those around.
So I wanted to show you how they turned out. They're all the thick side, but because I used a non-stick pan.
Yeah.
But
no, they look great. Look at that.
Yeah.
And how many did you get out of it?
I got 9. Oh wait,
9.
yeah, 9.
So that's not too bad, especially with a non-stick pan. That's not too bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I got 12, I think. I'm gonna double check my count just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12. I got 13. 13. It's not a competition. Okay, well maybe it is. I got 13. There we go. All right, so this guy is done for a little bit, I think. Ooh, look at that. You can just eat these little pieces. Nothing wrong with that. Should have put some Nutella on it. Would have been even better. But I'm gonna take a second and get cleaned up. You can do the same thing. Because the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get ready to, we're gonna whip some cream and we're gonna get ready to kind of finish some things up. And I'll be honest, I think we're gonna be done a little early today because things is with small class, I think things have been going pretty smooth. Have I been rushing you guys? Or is everyone kind of doing good? You caught up?
Doing well. I
Doing
felt
good?
like this case, yeah.
Okay. Well, sounds good to me then.
We are still cooking some, and we've got a little bit of batter left. Can we just finish cooking them?
Absolutely. You go ahead. I'm gonna get cleaned up, and you guys keep cooking. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that because we are making good time as it is. Yeah, this is our, we don't typically do classes during the daytime, during the week because most people are working, etc. But we do a lot of team building events. So we do a lot of private things during the week, and so we've just started posting a few daytime classes. So it's kind of cool to have you guys on for a daytime class. Here, when half the world is quarantined still, we're thankful to be in an open state here in Tennessee. But yeah, thankful that we get to be open, but it's still cool that we can do some daytime classes. I was excited because I absolutely love crepes. It's been kind of dangerous today because I'm gonna be making these crepes with Nutella and peanut butter, and it's gonna be hard to resist. I mean, again, I'll take some home to my kids, I promise, but it'll be hard to resist.
I have a question. Is it the same process with rice flour? Crepes?
So rice flour, you would need a different recipe if you're going to use rice flour, because rice flour has no bonding in it. And when you use a wheat flour, you have the proteins that bond into gluten. And so when you were stirring, when we were whisking our batter at the early stage, when it got really thick and stuff, a lot of that thickness was because of the proteins bonding. There's two proteins in wheat flour, glutenin and gliadin. And when those two proteins bond together, when they get moist or wet, and they bond together into gluten strands, and that's what makes bread rise and hold together. That's what makes the crepe batter actually hold together as well. And so it's harder to make crepes without that. Now, a traditional French crepe would also be a buckwheat crepe. So you can take buckwheat and you can just buy buckwheat at a store. Most of the time it'll be like in buckwheat flour is hard to find. I think I've had trouble, but when I bought it before, it'll actually be like the wheat. It'd be a buckwheat berry, and it's gluten free. I know it says wheat, but it's not part of the wheat family, and it would be a gluten free crepe. And I put it in a coffee grinder and grind my own flour, and then make crepes out of that. So, but there are other recipes you can probably find that have rice flour, but it'll be most likely two different types of rice flour. It'd be the regular rice flour, and then they're called the glutinous rice flour, and maybe a little bit of tapioca starch. But the glutinous rice flour, it's called that, but just because it's stickier and has a property that helps hold things together a little bit. And so you definitely want to look for those two. Look for the glutinous rice flour. I typically find we get all of our rice flours at the Asians. We have a couple of different Asian markets, and we typically go to one close to our house that has all the different rice flours. And so we purchase it. It's also called sweet rice flour. The glutinous one, it may be called sweet rice flour or glutinous rice flour, and that's what you'd be looking for to help you with making the recipe. Speak. That was a long answer, but that get you?
Yes.
Okay, then let's talk one more thing about the recipe while some of y'all are finishing cooking your crepes, right? So your recipe for the crepe batter, it had, this is what I call my master crepe batter. Anytime I label something a master, it means that I can use that as a template to make other things out of it. And so this particular batter, we're coming up, it's not quite fall yet, but we're getting there. So hey, say you want to make some pumpkin crepes. Well, if you open up a can of pumpkin, that would be considered a wet ingredient. And so you can replace things, meaning you could take, if you want to make pumpkin crepes and you took 2 tablespoons of pumpkin and put it into the crepe batter, you take out 2 tablespoons of the milk. So wet can replace wet, and dry can replace dry. And so you can take this batter and make different flavors just by replacing a few ingredients. You could take out the sugar if you wanted to, and then take out the sugar and put in some herbs and make more of a savory crepe if you wanted to. You can do, let's see, what else would we take out? You can make it with, you could probably technically make these with coconut milk as well. So if you weren't eating dairy, Or say you can make a coconut dessert crepe. Take out half the milk and put in half coconut milk, and then add some shredded coconut to the filling. So you can do a lot of different things with it, and just kind of play around with however you would like.
Can we? When we want to make cocoa crepes? What should we take out for that?
And so like you would add cocoa powder to them, and your cocoa powder, is it wet or is it dry?
Dry.
It's dry. So if you want to add cocoa powder, say you wanted to put a tablespoon of cocoa powder in, it's a dry ingredient. So you would take out a tablespoon of the flour because it's the dry ingredient.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So you can just substitute those. You gotta be a little more careful when you use cocoa because cocoa can burn a lot faster when it's in direct heat. Meaning, like when you put cocoa powder in a cake, it just kind of gets heat from around. But when you put cocoa powder in a batter like that and you put it straight on the heat, then that's called direct heat, where the cocoa powder is touching the hot pan. It could burn a little bit faster, so you want to be a little careful on that. All right, are we ready, y'all? And we're gonna move into the next part. And so I'm gonna get my mixer out, and I have my whip attachment. Okay, and so we're gonna whip some cream. Whip cream. All right. So I have a little bit of cream here. I've got my mixer. And so we're gonna make one batch of whipped cream, and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna keep some of it savory and make the other sweet. So I'm gonna take my whipped cream, my heavy cream, or it's called heavy whipping cream, like we talked about earlier. Put it into my mixer. And
Question: how much whipping cream is that?
that was the half a cup of whipping cream we talked about earlier.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, that was the same. So I got my reserved cream from my tray. I should have told you that part. So I went and gathered. I had my reserved. This is my reserved sauce, and I had that half a cup of whipping cream there. That's what I had. So we're gonna whip the cream to stiff peak. It's kind of difficult when you're doing a small amount in a big mixer like this, but we're gonna do it anyway. Sometimes it's almost easier just to put it in a bowl and do it by hand and use a whisk, but okay, so we have a half a cup of heavy cream in here. I'm gonna put like another quarter cup just to make sure we have enough to do something bonus. Did everyone hear me? So I'm gonna, if you've got some, if you don't, it's cool. But I might make a little bonus. So I'm gonna get a little bit more heavy cream to put in here. It sounds fun. Okay, well now I lied to you because I happen to have some whipped cream already in the fridge. So I don't need this much, but if you want to add another quarter cup of heavy cream to this, you can. But looks like my wife had some left over from a different class, and I'm just gonna use it. Did you try one of your crepes yet? You're welcome to. I mean, you have plenty. You can just take a piece.
I ate like 2 already.
That's good. You don't want to go home hungry, right? I'd eat them too. All right. Come on, whipped cream. Mine's almost there. Also want to turn your oven back on to turn your broiler on. Your broiler. I'll turn it off so you can hear me. I was saying you want to turn your broiler on with your oven. You can do, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do the high broil. You can do low or high broil. It does not matter.
Question. My whipped cream curled up a little bit. What should I do to make it like more smoother?
So if it curled up a little bit, it's getting closer to butter. There's not much you can do to it. So just don't whip it anymore. And if you want to turn your video on and show me, I can take a look to see.
I can't. There's something wrong with the camera.
Okay, on your side, or I can turn mine. I can turn you on from my side if you need me to.
Sure. Yes, please.
Okay. So you are
Rosa.
Rosa. Try that.
Okay.
No.
No.
You said there's something wrong with the camera setting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that might be on your end then, because all my end is set to let you guys in.
Yeah, it's probably on our end then.
Okay. So if it's kind of thick and chunky, that just means you're getting closer to becoming butter. But again, nothing wrong with it. It'll still taste just fine.
Okay.
So mine is just about done.
Can I get your opinion on mine? I feel like I
Yeah,
maybe.
let me see.
Let's see. Can you see it?
So here, do it this way so I can see. I'll show you.
Mhm.
So I do. So you give it a swirl, right? And then just pull it straight up and do that. So you're good. So show me this thing.
Oh.
Okay. So I've got stiff peaks. You have stiff peaks too.
Okay.
All right. And so let's see if I can get you a good look there. There. I got, when things start pointing, that's a stiff peak, right?
Yeah.
And so a soft peak would curl like this, right? It'd kind of come up and curl. A medium peak, so soft peak would kind of curl, make a little loop on top. A medium peak would kind of go out to the side, and a stiff peak stands straight up. Stiff peak is just fine for what we're doing today.
It looked just fun before.
Mm-hmm.
No. So this is.
All right. So everybody, here's what we're gonna do. You have your whipped cream. I want you to take maybe that's probably about 2 or 3 tablespoons worth. Take that out and put it into your sauce that you reserved from earlier. So 2 or 3 tablespoons in your sauce, just like that, right? And so this is unsweetened whipped cream that we're adding to the sauce. So put that there and just set it down. We'll get back to that in a minute. Then what you have left over. So the unsweetened is for your savory dish. But now for your dessert, we want sweetened whipped cream. So I'm going to take a little powdered sugar that I have. I'm just going to dust it in there. Okay. And then I'm just going to mix that in. And now I have sweetened whipped cream. So that's an easy way to kind of whip one batch and get 2 results out of it. And you probably should, it's your house. I can't do that when there's people in the classroom. I can't lick things, but because I have to share it with everybody else. But this is mine. No one else is here. So you might as well just enjoy it all, okay? So we've got our sweetened whipped cream here. Now, let's get our sauce here, okay? So this is the sauce with the unsweetened whipped cream. And then you just need like 1 egg yolk, all you need. Now, and if you need me to show you how to separate an egg, I can. I have some egg yolks here. I just happen to have some from another class. I'm gonna take just the yolk. Right, so just the yolk, and put that into my sauce.
He said we could do that.
So, Rosa, I think your audio is still on. I'm not sure if you're trying to ask a question or not.
Sorry.
No worries. No worries. So, but it's actually, Rosa is the one, but it's Isabella, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, glad to have you on your first class with us. And so here, this is what's called that we would call a glacé or a glaçage. As a French term, it means to kind of glaze over top of something. And so this is kind of a unique thing. You don't see it a whole lot. So you've got your sauce with egg yolk. Egg yolk is going to give it some, kind of fortify the flavor. And then your whipped cream is going to fold in. And we're just going to set this aside for just a moment. Just get it barely mixed in. You don't want to mix it too hard, because then, if you think, what is whipped cream, right? It's heavy cream with a bunch of air pockets in it. When your mixer whips it, it's just heavy cream with a bunch of air in it. And so if you stir a lot, you're going to basically pop all those bubbles. So when you use whipped cream, you got to be real gentle, so that make sure you don't pop all the bubbles. So that's why I'm trying to be real gentle with that. So it's egg yolk, unsweetened whipped cream, and your sauce. Now, so we're gonna get ready to make your savory crepe. Here's our savory sauce. We could heat this up just a little bit, just to take. I'll put it on the stove here and just get it just warm through just a little bit. Here's my sauce, it's warming up. Here's my chicken. So, a lot of people these days have gloves at home now. So if you want to use gloves, you can. That's what I'm getting. You don't have to. You can just use a couple forks. You can use your bare hands, whatever you like. I've got my chicken here. And so this was some of the fat that I didn't trim off earlier, because it'll just pull right off. So I used some chicken thigh. I'm not sure if you use chicken breast or some of you didn't use it at all. Either way, it's fine with me. I'm just gonna pull some of that fat off as we go. Can't believe I cooked it with the fat on, because don't tell my mom. As a kid growing up, maybe this is why I wanted to cook, I don't know, but as a kid growing up, my mom didn't cook a whole lot. And then when she did, it was just a piece of chicken in a glass baking dish with maybe some Italian dressing on it. And she always left the fat pieces on it. As it baked, the fat pieces kind of get yellow and some of them get hard. And that was my life. And so it was ew. But if you do that at home, I'm sorry. Maybe that's great. But so now I usually take all the fat off before I cook it, but I knew I was gonna put some gloves on and shred it for this particular purpose. So here I like to shred with my hands. I mean, it just works so nicely. So just shred your chicken up. I'm not gonna use all this chicken. It seems like a little much. I did not measure this at all. I just had some in the fridge. I just cooked it. Now I don't want my filling so hot that I can't touch it. So mine is it's warmed up a little bit. I'm gonna turn off my pan, add some chicken to it. Probably perfect. So what we have is your chicken. With your sauce. I've taken a little of my sauce out just in case. I didn't need it all, but I think. Yeah. There we go. You will need some sort of pan. Like I've got a piece of parchment paper on a baking sheet, some sort of cookie sheet. It could be another saute pan, another nonstick pan or something to put these into the oven. So just keep that in mind. You need that. You need that next to you. All right, you ready? You ready? We're gonna do 3 different shapes of crepes today. So this would be our first crepe shape. So the first crepe shape is when you have your crepe, you have 2 sides. You have the side that was originally the first side that cooked. It's usually the prettier side, right? They always look different. Everything you do, right? The back always looks different than the front. The front is always prettier. So I'm going to put the pretty side. I'm going to turn it down so I can't see it because we're gonna be filling this. I'm gonna make 2 crepes. So I'm cutting my filling, cutting my filling in half. And then I'm just gonna roll. I'm gonna roll it into like a burrito or enchilada look. Roll it, and then take the seam side and put it down. Then we're gonna do the second one. Take the rest of it. And I'm gonna roll. Seam side down. Got our 2 crepes. And you're gonna take this glaçage or glacé, and you're gonna take it and put it right on top. Looks like I made it a little much. That's okay. We'll use it. And I'm going to put this into the oven underneath the broiler. When you use a broiler, always set timers. So I set a 1-minute timer for mine right now, and I'm not gonna really do anything else until this is done. I'm gonna keep an eye on it because things underneath the broiler burn really easily, but I love a broiler because it gives you that kind of char on top, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a little bit of browning to happen on top of our crepe. So I set my 1-minute timer, and I'm gonna check it, and we're just gonna hang out until this is ready.
I have a question about the glacé. I think it's the glacé sauce. It's the one with the egg yolk in it.
Yes.
My sauce, it looks like it's separated, and it could be that I can show it to you.
Yeah, show it to me.
Okay, it may not be, but let me see here. Oh, let me see. Okay, so it's sorry, I'm like having a hard time here.
While you're getting your camera set, I'm gonna check this one. The timer's going off.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Can you see?
It does. It does look a little separated, and that was just your sauce, egg yolk, and your heavy cream.
Yeah.
Was your sauce hot?
No, it had cooled off.
It had cooled.
Mhm.
I wonder if your sauce. Let me see. Was your sauce broken on the other side? That's what it looks
No.
like.
It doesn't look like it on the other side. It happened when I put the egg yolk in it. Or sorry, when I put the whipped cream in it.
Is that a full fat heavy whipping cream that you used? Yeah, it
Yeah.
looked like it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. I've not seen that before. I've seen that when you when you buy a lot of things at the grocery store, they try like low fat, non-fat stuff. That happens with a lot of low fat, non-fat stuff. But if it wasn't that, then I'll have to think about that one for a little bit.
Okay. I'm coming
wait,
by later.
way to give me a new problem.
I'm coming by later to buy the pan, so
Okay.
you can maybe tell me then.
Okay.
Is it gonna be bad to eat?
No, it shouldn't be bad to eat. No, not at all. And let me know when you're coming by, because I should be here most of the day. But then I might be dipping out a little bit before my class this evening. So
What about right after the class? Can I come by?
I'll be here. Yeah, I'll be here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So mine's done. I had mine on high broil, and I had it kind of like in the middle of the oven for the first 2 minutes, and then the last 30 seconds I put it right up top, so it got a nice brown on the outside, even kind of it's a pretty little crispy edge around my crepes. So let me grab a plate and we'll put them on there. There you have it. So there's our savory crepe, and these are fantastic. You're welcome to dive in and eat a bite, and then we're getting ready to make our sweet crepes here in just a minute. So I'll pull this back into the screen a little bit later when we have some space. Okay. Right now, I'm gonna set it out here so we have a little room to make our other crepes. I'm gonna put these back in the fridge too. Be right back. All right, so you ready for the next one? So the next one is, y'all want to do a Nutella crepe? Let's do Nutella. Sounds good. Sounds good to me. Okay, so a Nutella crepe, I'm gonna take again the pretty side. I'm gonna flip it down, and I'm gonna put this guy right to the edge of the table. Then you want to grab a knife, a spatula, something like that, something to spread with. Here's why I bring the crepe to the edge of the table, because when your hand is on top of the table, your knuckles get in the way, and there's a space underneath here. So basically, your knife's at an angle. It's really hard to spread that way. But as soon as you bring your knuckles off the table, you can flatten your knife. You can get a nice, smooth spread. So here's what that looks like. Yes, I had to sample all the Nutella and the peanut butter earlier today before class started. That's part of it. Here we go. So we got some Nutella. Now I'm only gonna do half the crepe, and I'll show you why. I'm gonna put Nutella on the bottom half. The Nutella's on the bottom half of the crepe. And then I'm gonna fold it down so it matches. Everyone with me? I hope so. Then here's how we're gonna get our triangle shape. We're gonna take the corner of the crepe. Sorry, bright things make the make the camera adjust its white light balance. So to take this corner and bring it down to here, and you're gonna take this corner and fold it up, and you'll have the triangle. Here, I'll show you couple more times. So you take the corner, fold it down about 2/3 of the way. Then you take this corner and you fold it up, and we have the triangle. Again, there's the straight side. You got two corners, one here, one here. This one comes down 2/3. This one, flip it up, and you've got a triangle. So with that one, you can be here. Now, if you Nutella, you can add some jam on there. You can do whatever you want to. I just picked some ingredients that we typically have around. We always have peanut butter here. We almost always have Nutella here. If you want to do some jam, things like that, that's totally up to you. Totally up to you. But if you want to make this pretty, we need to make a quenelle. Don't be mad at me. Y'all promise not to be mad at me, because sometimes people get really mad trying to make quenelles because they're not easy. You need 2 spoons. So give you a second. Go get 2 spoons. Just regular old eating spoons. I'll tell you a story why. Quenelles, I make them to make things look pretty sometimes, etc. But I never really thought of it as something that was done a whole lot these days. But when we were in France, we went down and we sat at a little cafe for lunch, and I loved it. I loved France because like lunch is a thing. Like here, people go lunch, they get it really quick. Like our lunchtime food is usually something super quick, but their lunch is like let's hang out for an hour and a half, and we're having wine and like we're having pastries and like we're having a full meal for lunch, which I thought was really kind of cool. And so I'm at this one restaurant, and this is a normal thing for their pastry chef, just over there just making quenelles, putting them on desserts all the time. Just watch her. It's like, oh, she did like putting her on her pants every day. Something is she talking to people like just making quenelles like a champ. So I'll adjust my camera a little bit here. So what you want to do is you want to take some of your heavy cream, your whipped cream, and let's see if I can get both cameras going on in the same spot for you. So you take your whipped cream, and then the edge of the spoon, see that the edge of the spoon, you want it to come a little bit over halfway. So you're gonna put your one spoon inside of the other. You can see it right there. One spoon inside of the other, and you scrape it across. Then you do the same thing, this side. Bring it inside the bottom of the spoon, and you come across. And once you do it a few times, you end up with that nice ridge at the top. I need to trim mine a little bit. The trick to getting the ridge at the top is if you do your spoon straight down, then it doesn't work. You have to make this edge of the spoon that's touching my thumb there, it has to be kind of over the halfway mark. And see how it's kind of looks like it's laying flat, but it's got just a little bit coming off the spoon. So that's how you quenelle it. All right, and then you pick one up. Oh, not quite ready. I'm going to dust this with a little bit of powdered sugar. And then lay my quenelle right on top. You could use a little shaved chocolate to garnish it or something like that if you wanted to. So you only do it. I'll do another quenelle for you. We'll practice a minute. You always have to do it, a few times to get the cream squeezed it into all the right spots. And I actually press right here. I actually press down. That squeezes the cream, whipped cream, into the right spot. So there's my baby quenelle right there. I'm gonna take the baby quenelle off because it just doesn't look pretty right there. one looks better. So there's our second crepe. Now for the third one. I'll give you just a second to finish your quinoa. I know it takes a little practice, right? It takes a little practice. So if you want to see me do it empty, okay? So empty is, you know, this bottom spoon here. This one sits right on the edge, and it's not straight up and down, kind of tilted. And you press and scrape out of that bottom, and then you do the same thing. You press and scrape out of the bottom of it, and you get the quinoa. If you got a good one, you need to let me know if your videos can come up. You got a good one, or if you're struggling. Either way, I'm here to help. So let me know. Now for our next one, I'm gonna grab a small bowl. I'm gonna take the remaining whipped cream I have. All out. Now here's where I might want a little extra. I have a little bit left over, and from actually I probably don't need it actually, but here, just a little bit in there. All right, and then I'm taking some peanut butter. Now we use Jif peanut butter. If you use anything else, just turn off the Zoom because we're not friends. Okay? The only way we can be friends is if you're a Jif person. Okay, I'm kind of kidding. I'm kidding. Don't stay on. But Jif, I don't know. They just do it right. So I'm gonna take. Actually, that's just too much whipped cream. So I'm only making one. Because here's the thing: if I make more than one, I'm gonna eat both of them, and then I'm gonna have to go for an extra run during lunch. So I'm gonna take whipped cream, peanut butter, and we're going to mix them together. Fold, gentle. Don't squeeze all the air out of your whipped cream. We're basically making a peanut butter cream.
Hey, Chef Jeff, could
Yeah.
you make like an apple filling and make it almost like a peanut butter apple crepe?
Sure. Crepes are, think of them like a pizza. And you can put pretty much anything you want to on top of a pizza. It's just a blank canvas. And so you get to do whatever sounds good to you. And so the one day, you know, just like whipped cream peanut butter sounded really good to me. So I did it and it was fantastic. And I do a lot of, a great dessert we do sometimes in a couple classes is making crepes. We make crepes in some of my cooking classes for where we have a full meal. You know, and we do it for just a dessert portion. And why I like it is because a lot of times we do some sort of fruit topping. And so we might flambe some fruit. I've done one with like roasted pears. I've done another one with where we use apples instead if that's what's more available. And we'll saute the apples or the pears and then, you know, put a little whiskey or something in it and flambe that and then pour it over the top of the crepe. So that is a definite, you know, top it with some toasted nuts. There's so much. I've done some where we make crepes and we put ham and salami and make a little wrap out of it. So that's cool too. That's why it's good to like, if you like to entertain at home, it's good to have some crepes in your freezer because someone calls, hey, you want to get together? Yeah, come on over. Let's make dinner or something, and you can pull some crepes out and throw some shredded lettuce and some cold cuts out of the fridge and wrap it up pretty, and then you're eating. You're having a great dinner. Or a friend wants to come over, like let's have some coffee and a dessert. What do I got? We'll pull out some crepes and throw some peanut butter in it, put some powdered sugar on top, and you've got dessert. So that's it's again just nice to have them around. And then when you learn a couple different folds, so I've shown you 2 folds, I'm about to show you the 3rd fold. And the 3rd fold is here. So the 3rd fold is we're gonna put some stuff right in the middle. If you ever made a cheese blintz, this would be, or eaten one, this would be somewhat of the same thing. So I'm gonna take my really nice, it's basically like a peanut butter mousse. Right, put that right in the middle. And then I'm gonna fold one side over. I only have one opportunity. I only have enough mousse to do one of these. So I want to make sure that that we're together. I'll show you a couple times. So then I'm gonna fold it over, one side in. So that was the left side for me. Then I'm gonna fold the right side in. And then right here where I'm gonna find where the filling ends. And then you're gonna fold this side up. And then right where it ends, put your fingers there and fold this one over. And that makes the square. I'll show you one more time. Have it open. Can't believe I got that open without it tearing. That's skill. Okay, so fold one side, fold the other. And then again, I like to go ahead and you want it to be tight and your filling to have like a nice shape when you're done. That means you really got to find the edge of your filling so that you can kind of press it in. Hold this up. And then right there at the edge, I put my fingers there, the edge of the filling, fold that over. And then we've got the peanut butter mousse. And I'll be right back. There we go. Ooh. I about dropped this on the floor. Okay, so what I've got, let's make it pretty. So I'm gonna take a little powdered sugar and I just put this piece of paper over my plate. I'm gonna dust half my plate. Having some fun, y'all, because we made exceptional time today, and I've got some seedless red raspberry jam, because nothing like a peanut butter and jelly. And then I'm gonna be out of camera for just a second, chopping. No, actually, I'll do it right here. I have chocolate. Again, this is just bonus. You don't have to have all these ingredients, but just like to show you something since we had some time. A lot of times I'm kind of rushing at the end to get something done, get it done. But we've done really well today. And sprinkle a little chocolate on that side. So a little extra chocolate. I'll just eat it. Oh. Here's our 3 crepes. You've got the savory crepe with the chicken and sauce in there. You've got your peanut butter mousse crepe, and we've got our Nutella crepe there. And that, everybody, is your class. So I'd love to see if you've got some, some of your stuff done. If you want to bring your video up and let me see it. If you're not, I'm not getting off right now. I'm not signing out yet. I'm gonna be here to answer questions. I would love to see some of the stuff that you're doing. And so you're happy to turn on your camera if you can. If you're having trouble with your cameras, just let me know, and I'll try. Oh, I see it. You got them on. Oh, you have a silk pat. Those things are nice to cook on.
I wanted to show you what they came out on the, out of the oven, but
yeah,
the lighting is kind of weird. But I've already started eating them. But they turned out great.
Don't they taste great?
The savory crepe. Just
yes.
I made mine with prosciutto.
Oh,
and,
perfect.
And it's actually very good.
And so I used to do this one with mushrooms in it. So it was mushrooms and bacon, and which I really like, but I've noticed a lot of other people don't like mushrooms, so I've changed it a little bit to accommodate. Let me see that quenelle. I can kind of see it on there. Hey, that's not too shabby.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep working it.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of practice. It really does.
Yeah.
So, well,
yeah,
great to
excellent.
have you.
I love this. I actually took off work today because I love crepes so much. I actually took the day off work to take this class.
I love it. I love it. So, and I think you had rescheduled from before, if I'm not, we had a different class, and then my wife's grandfather passed away, and so we canceled everything and drove to Pennsylvania and for his funeral. He was 97 and a World War II vet. It was such an honor to really be there. I mean, we all knew it was coming for a while, so it wasn't more of a sad day, more of a day really in honoring him. So thank you for rescheduling that. I really appreciate it. And anybody else that wants to come up?
I wanted to just say that I wanted to show you what I made, but since my camera's not working, I was just going to tell you. So I made a Nutella crepe and put it in a triangle shape, and then I had fruit like mango and strawberry.
Oh, that sounds great.
And I just ate it. It was so cool. It was like a spoon.
Well, you know what? Since you can't share your camera, you want to take some pictures of it, and then you could email me if you'd like. So you could take some pictures of it, and you could email me, and that would be fantastic. I would love to see it. I would definitely love to see it. Okay? I'm sorry you're having trouble with the camera. Ashley. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I really enjoyed this though.
Awesome. Well, I enjoyed having you, and I love that you came on and asked questions. You know, I mean, I hope you know, since this is your first time, this is what we, I'll be honest. My little secret, my little secret is like creating menus is hard for me because I'm not really creative food wise, but I love the teaching part. So I kind of steal everyone else's recipes and then just learn to teach them and then teach them well, so you guys can learn. So the teaching part is my favorite, and I love it when you ask questions. So thanks for being on and doing that with us. My wife is the exact same way. So, and I see Ashley, I see you guys on. You can unmute yourself if you want to. If you can't, I can probably do it on my side.
Okay, I think I did it.
Okay, there you are.
Okay, I don't know how to show them well, but I didn't do the last one I did, but I'm gonna work on it. So,
Okay.
let's see. There's the savory.
Oh, that looks great.
And that one. I don't know, but.
Hey, well, go back down. Let me see that quenelle. I want to see.
Hold on.
Hey, it looks, you got a good beginning. You really do.
So work on it some more.
Yeah, but hey, you did. I mean, it's got some shape, and that's the first thing you want to get is a little shape.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Your crepe turned out really great.
It does. It looks really good, doesn't it? Yeah, show us again.
I already ate one, but.
Okay.
It was good.
I'm gonna get some pictures before I dive into this. Sometimes that's what ended up happening is I tend to eat things, and I realize as we just built our new website. It's been up for about a week now, and that when we were like trying to get pictures of things, I was like, I didn't have a ton because we a lot of times we eat before we get a good photo. So today I vowed to get a good photo before I dive in. So I'm just gonna lick the peanut butter mousse right off of here. That's my go-to right now. Does anyone else have any more questions or anything I can help with? All right. Well, hey, go ahead.
I do have a question. How how much time do you think when you're making whipped cream, do you think we should like whip it so that it doesn't get like curled?
So, again, that's going to go back to kind of cooking with your senses part, where we teach the sight, smell, taste, sound, and touch. Because if I'm gonna whip, if I'm gonna whip only like this much cream in the bottom of the bowl, it'll go. I mean, it could only be like 2 minutes, a minute and a half, 2 minutes. But if I'm gonna whip this much cream in the bowl, it's gonna take 4 or 5 minutes. So depending on how much cream you have in there, will determine how long you whip it. But here's what we should have done, and this was my fault too. Here's what we should have done. As soon as it starts to when you pour the cream in, it's liquid, and as soon as it starts whipping, and as soon as you start seeing just like it kind of looks like it's getting a little bit thick, turn off your mixer, and then check it. You can. Where's my thing? There it is. It's right here. Check it by giving a little stir and just put this straight in the bottom and just pull it straight up, and then turn it up, and you'll see what happens to the point. Like if you turn it up and it's just like oozing off, well, you have no peak, right? And then if you do it and you pull it out and you do this, and it kind of curls over, like if you ever went to, we call it a Dairy Queen cone. If you ever been to Dairy Queen and you had like a soft serve cone, or anywhere it has a soft serve cone and had that little curl at the top, that's a soft peak. And then you do it again, you pull it out, and if it's kind of like going off to the side, then pointing off to the side, that's a medium peak, and a stiff peak is straight up. But as soon as we always, like in class if we're doing it, as soon as you start getting a little bit of thickness, you want to check it, and then the difference between a soft, medium, and stiff peak can be a matter of like 5 to 10 seconds sometimes. And so that's why you just want to stay there and just turn on, like, okay, I'm at a soft peak, turn it back on, and for 5-10 seconds, and then stop it and check it again. And it's better to kind of check more often as you're learning to do it than to let it go too long.
Okay.
But and then you have and then you just have to ask the question, what peak are you wanting? Soft, medium, or stiff, so that you can get to that desired end goal.
Okay, so 2 more things.
Sure.
The reason why I think it went in like it curled is because we added a little bit more of the whipping cream.
Oh, say that again.
The reason why I think it curled is because we added more whipping cream after we started whipping it, and it looked fine before we added the whipping cream, and then after we added the second whipping cream, it started to curl.
It may have whipped a little too long in between. So you can whip it a little bit and then add some. It's usually fine. But if yours had gone a little bit too long before you add the second amount, then that could have very well been the case.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Another question. How long do crepes last in the freezer? I mean, fridge. Yeah, freezer, fridge.
So as a general rule, most things in your freezer should be 3 to 4 months. As a general rule, that's about the max you should be keeping things in your freezer. I know we think freezers keep things a whole lot longer than that, but really, bacteria. The reason we put something in the freezer is so that bacteria bacteria slows down, and it gives us a longer time for that food to be good. And a lot of times people think that when you put something in the freezer that bacteria dies, but it doesn't. Bacteria can still grow inside the freezer, just really, really slowly. And so about 3 to maybe 4 months should be about the max you keep most things in the freezer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, everybody, I would love just a couple things in closing for you. Number one, check out our new website. Most of you had to get on it to be part of this class, but we've had one website for 5 years, and now we just got a new website up, and on there we have a bunch of classes. We have some virtual classes coming up. We have in-person classes as well, and we have 2 or 3, at least 2 months of classes on there right now. September and October, and November is coming up soon. But I'd love for you to also join us on YouTube. We just started our YouTube channel. We just launched it, and about twice a month we launch a new video. And probably next month, I'm going to start doing a few more than that. But we have, if you scroll to the bottom of our website, it'll say our YouTube videos, like in the footer of the website, and you can click on there, see some of the videos. We'd love for you to subscribe and see us that way. And so we're gonna be doing some other cool things when it comes to the YouTube part. But again, thank y'all for being here, and I hope y'all have a blessed day. And if you have any questions or shoot me any pictures, email me. I love to see them. And you might even see them show up on the website. People have sent us pictures of their stuff, and it's shown up on the website and or on our Facebook, because I just started gramming too, like Instagramming. I call it gramming. I don't know, that's just me. So I just started gramming. Well, actually, I should lie. I'm lying. We've had a business Instagram for about 5 years, but I've never seen it. Someone else has been doing that the whole time. So I just started my personal Instagram at Jeff Pennypacker. So now I'm kind of doing a little bit of both. And so I'd love for you to find us on Instagram and see what's going on there. Connect with me there. I don't know what that means exactly. I'm learning, but but just do that. And so thank y'all very much.
And tag you on there.
Yes. Yeah, put your pictures and tag me on Instagram, and I'll figure out how to find it. You have to ask for help a lot. All right. So, yeah.
Bye.
Are each video kid friendly, or are there? I mean, yeah, classes kid friendly, or is there specific ones?
No, all of my classes are kid friendly. All our entire business is even if you come in person. Like if you came in person to a cooking class here, we do serve alcohol, but that's even with that part, that happens at our adult classes. But so like everything we do here, and especially on video, is all kid friendly. So we'd love to have you to join any of our stuff. And hopefully in the next month too, if you want to see other classes, we're going to have some of our previously recorded virtual classes. They're going to come online as well for you guys to see those and purchase those. Great.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank y'all very much. Y'all have a blessed day. And again, YouTube me, gram me, Instagram me, or whatever. And Eric, I'll see you in a little bit. I'm down here. Just shake the door when you come down, okay? Because we keep it locked most of the day. So you just shake it. I'm here. I'll be here.
I'll be there in about in just like 15, 20 minutes or 15 minutes.
I'll see you then.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
You too.